You know, at work, there's this constant push and pull, right? Between what's going on in our heads and what we actually do. Today, we're going to dive into that messy relationship between our attitude and our behavior, and why it is absolutely crucial for leaders to get this right.
I mean, we've all seen it. You've got that one coworker who is just brilliant, but so difficult to work with. And then there's that other person whose good vibes just lift up the entire room. That difference, it almost always boils down to that classic tension between attitude and behavior. So, let's talk about your attitude and your job. How much does your own personal attitude really matter? Well, it turns out a lot. It can literally shape your entire career, starting from day one. Let's talk about Sarah from Toronto. She's a student, gets a part-time gig at a grocery store. And she's got this awesome positive outlook, always helpful, respectful, just on it. Her manager totally noticed. They saw it wasn't just about the tasks she was doing, it was how she was doing them. And that attitude, boom, it led straight to a promotion. And this isn't just a one-off story about Sarah. Let's look at Japan. They have this concept called omotenashi. It's this really deep philosophy of selfless hospitality that's just baked into their service culture. And by focusing on building this attitude of genuine respect, what happens? You get better teamwork and way happier customers. It just goes to show how attitude can shape behavior on a massive, massive scale.
Okay, so we get it. A good attitude is key if you're an employee. But if you're the leader, this is where things get tricky. It creates what we call the leader's paradox. And here's the paradox in a nutshell. On one hand, you hear this all the time, right? Bring your whole self to work. Companies say they want your unique personality, your authentic self. But on the other hand, they absolutely need everyone pulling in the same direction. They need alignment, predictability. And who's stuck right in the middle of that tug of war? The leader. So it all comes down to this really fundamental question for any manager out there. Is your job to try and shape what your employees are thinking and feeling, or is it just to make sure they're doing what they're supposed to do? To help us unpack that, we're going to look at two different ways to lead, using some pretty powerful management theories that give us a couple of totally different ways to see this problem. Okay, first up, you've got Douglas McGregor's Theory X and Theory Y. Think of it like this. A Theory X manager basically assumes people are lazy and you got to control them with rules, maybe even threats. For them, it is all about behavior. A Theory Y manager, totally different. They believe people are naturally motivated. You just have to give them the right environment to thrive. Their focus is all about fostering a great attitude. But hold on, it's not just about what one manager thinks. There's another layer here, social identity theory. This tells us that our sense of who we are comes from the groups we're a part of. We automatically favor our in-group, our team, our department, and we can start to have biases against out-groups. And this is where hidden attitudes can become a massive problem, especially when your little in-group starts to clash with a bigger company culture. And believe me, the impact of these hidden attitudes is not just some academic theory. This number, 50%, it comes from a major study that uncovered something pretty shocking about how hiring actually works. So get this. Researchers sent out thousands of resumes that were completely identical. The only thing they changed was the name at the top to sound either stereotypically white or African American. The result? The resumes with white-sounding names got 50% more callbacks. It's just a perfect, undeniable example of a hidden attitude, an unconscious bias directly causing a discriminatory behavior. So if just cracking down a behavior isn't the answer, then what is? Well, Harvard's Amy Edmondson has a pretty powerful idea: psychological safety. And as she says, it's not about just being nice. It's about building a culture where people feel genuinely safe to speak up, to disagree, to be honest, without being afraid. It's pure theory Y, right? You shape the environment, and better behavior naturally comes from that. All right, let's take this out of the classroom and into the real world. We're going to look at a tale of two banks, a really dramatic comparison between two huge players in North America. So on one side, you've got RBC, the Royal Bank of Canada. They went all in on a Theory Y approach, proactive, inclusive, pouring money into creating a real sense of trust and belonging. Then you have Wells Fargo. Their leadership was textbook Theory X, super high pressure, focused only on one behavior, hitting insane sales targets. And what did that create? An attitude of fear, of just trying to survive. The outcomes? I mean, they're night and day. RBC is known as a top employer with a great reputation. Wells Fargo? Billions in fines, and their brand was just trashed. So, when you put the theory and the real-world screw-ups together, what does it tell us about the future of workplace culture?
It really boils down to two key takeaways. First, the best leaders, they don't try to micromanage people's attitudes. They manage the context. They build fair systems, fair processes. And second, psychological safety is not some fluffy, nice-to-have thing. It is a strategic imperative. The Wells Fargo story proves it. Fear is a recipe for disaster, while trust is what really drives success.
The legendary management guru Peter Drucker really nailed it. He said a manager's purpose is to make people's strengths effective and their weaknesses irrelevant. Think about that. Your job isn't to change who people are. It's to build a system where their strengths can flourish and where their weaknesses, like those unconscious biases we talked about, are basically made irrelevant by good, fair processes.
And that brings us right to the edge of the future. Because now we have AI that can scan emails for signs of burnout or check promotion data for bias. I mean, this tech promises to fix the very problems we've been talking about. But here's the question we have to ask ourselves. Is turning over culture monitoring to an algorithm the solution? Or does it risk completely destroying the human trust that we need to succeed in the first place? That, right there, is the brand new paradox for the next generation of leaders.